Why do we fall? So we can pick ourselves back up again. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation. Today I'm taking a look at the DC Multiverse Batman Begins Batman. Starting off with the packaging, and this is a single issue window box. Batman Begins on the side, along with that Dark Knight Trilogy logo. Barcode for those who want it down in the undercarriage. And on the back we have a Batman Begins movie poster with the names of the actors blacked out so you don't notice them. Seeing this brings me right back to 2005 and all the hype I was feeling towards this movie. Believe me when I tell you that my excitement was tangible. For packaging, I'm giving Batman Begins 4 points. Moving on to presentation, and Batman stands at 7 1/8 inches, or thereabouts 18 centimeters, and is almost a 100% new sculpt. The head is reused from the Dark Knight. In a lot of ways that makes sense because many of the major details are the same. The thing is that while the mask and neck were two separate pieces in the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises, it was one big solid piece in Batman Begins, similar to the cowls that came before. This gave Batman a much thicker, more powerful neck. Christian Bale described it as feeling like a panther. Unlike the updated design, which could look side to side, in Batman Begins, he could not. He could look up and down though, so with all that being said, I don't mind the head being a separate piece like I do with, say, Keaton or Kilmer. I just wish the neck was thicker. The utility belt appears to be reuse, but that makes sense because they were the same in both movies. The difference here is that Batman Begins has a bit of extra plastic for the diaper, which Dark Knight doesn't. They also have the same knee pieces. Hold on to that thought, by the way, because it's going to be important. The calves and boots are nearly identical, but McFarlane did tweak them a bit. The rotator cuffs are also reused, and that's going to be important too. Beyond that, everything else is new, and to someone who's always preferred the Begin suit to the Dark Knight suit, I love it. Every line and panel is accounted for. Flipping the cape up, we can see more of that on his back. The gauntlets have been nicely glossed, as have the boots. I really wish that when they made the movie, they could have done that with the mask and logo. It would have been a nice workaround for making them black and gray, and would have helped the logo to stand out. McFarlane has done a near perfect job of translating it, but for some reason they went in and added this knitted texture underneath the armor. The costume in the movie was foam rubber glued to a wetsuit, and if you look at any publicity still, you can see that this is supposed to be completely smooth. Even his hands are supposed to be completely smooth. So then, why would McFarlane add these unnecessary embellishments? To reuse the knees and rotator cuffs, of course. It's baffling to me because if they were going to update the calves anyway, why not just go the distance and do it right? Not 100%, but closer than some of their other movie Batmen. For presentation, I'm giving Batman Begins 4 points. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video so far, do me a favor and give it a like. Moving on to Poseability, and it's not who Batman is underneath, but what he does that defines him. So, let's see what this Batman can do. And hey, he can't really look up that high. Leastways not compared to looking straight, but he can really bury the chin. He's also got a pretty nice tilt. Do I look like a cop? And all the way around. Moving on down, and these shoulder pauldrons are nice and flexible. Even so, he can only raise his arms up this high. Fortunately though, no trouble with rotation. That shoulder pad also doesn't get in the way of the rotator cuff. And then moving on down, we got bicep swivel, as well as double jointed elbows with a perfect bend, and wrist balls that can swivel and hinge either up and down or side to side. Shifting to the torso, and Batman has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell waist. He can arch back this far, which I have a feeling is better than Christian Bale was actually able to do in real life wearing that suit. For contrast, here he is standing straight, but alas, as usual, not much in the way of hunching forward. He does, however, get a great amount of tilt and twist. Below the bright brass utility belt, and Batman has the standard McFarlane hips. Kick is a little bit below 90 degrees, but he can bend his leg back this far. Not much in the way of twist in the hip. And then working our way down the legs, he's got double jointed knees with a pretty good bend. Bright shiny toticulation on his high gloss boots, and ankles that can swivel, hinge, and like Bruce Wayne cosplaying as a hobo to becoming a ninja to becoming a silent guardian and watchful protector, pivot. In some ways, more poseable than he should be. In other ways, less articulated than he could be. For Poseability, Batman Begins gets 4 points. Moving on to Playability, and if Bruce Wayne's gonna go spelunking, he's gonna need some gear. First things first, and we've got a trading card and a figure stand. It's just a short synopsis of the movie. Otherwise, though, he has his grapnel, as well as a batarang, both of which have been recycled from the Dark Knight, but cast in a more coppery color. You know, to match the belt. It's not who I am underneath. but how I accessorize that defines me. One really cool new accessory is this right hand clutching a fistful of batarangs. This is from his train battle with Ra's al Ghul. It's going to come in real handy when he needs to shred some pulled pork. It's also probably the closest we'll ever get to an action figure of Darklaw. Lastly, he has an alternate left hand that I thought was just an extra fist. Because everything is black and textured, it's hard to tell, but he's actually holding a grenade. Well, it's either that or a pumpkin bomb. Out, am I? Beyond that, and one thing adding a lot of value to this Batman is a wired cloth goods cape. It's made out of that crinkly stuff that they've been using, and it actually works to this figure's advantage. To keep the cape from getting waterlogged, the filmmakers used a kind of nylon parachute material, so this does capture that feeling. Of course, playability is more than just capes, cards, and accessories. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. First things first, and here he is with the costume that would define his look for the rest of the trilogy, but bringing out the rogues, and here we have Scarecrow, Standard and Interrogation Room versions of the Joker, Harvey Dent aka Two-Face, the Slinky Selina Kyle, and Bane! The only villain we need now to finish the set is Ra's al Ghul. Just for fun though, and since Bale never got a penguin, here he is with Colin Farrell, as well as a couple of versions of Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn. Hopefully in McFarlane's remaining time he can give us this one, as well as a comic version. I'd also accept Arkham City. Speaking of Arkham City, since Bale never got a Riddler, well, outside of fan speculation about this guy, here's the Arkham City version of him. Here we have Hush. And lastly, for one villain I really wish we could have seen in the Dark Knight saga, Deathstroke the Terminator, as he appeared in Arkham Origins. While we're doing this little what if though for the rest of the Batman family, and here's Gotham Knights Nightwing, Gotham Knights and Arkham Knight versions of Red Hood, and the Gotham Knights version of Robin. That said, and for the curious, here he is with Christopher Reeve's Superman, and fellow Christopher Nolan produced hero, Henry Cavill. For a relative scale comparison, here's Batman with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. You know, if it wasn't for the success of my movie, Iron Man would have never been greenlit, and your cinematic universe would have never happened. I'm sorry, did you say something to me? Gore? Now, I know you want to see some head swaps, but since I'm going to be doing about 20 of them, that's going to need to be its own video. So for now, let's take a look at him with some Batman figures whose heads I can't swap. First, and to see where Batman really begins, here's Detective Comics 27, the bright blue and gray Year 2, 3 Jokers, which takes more of its cues from the Keaton costume, the blue and gray version of Hush, and lastly, the Rebirth-inspired battle-damaged Dark Knight's Death Metal. If I could just have had one more accessory, I'd have loved a regular right-handed fist, but the accessories we got are good, and I do love a wired cape. For playability, this Batman gets 4 points. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. Batman Begins retails for $22.99, and the pre-orders from McFarlaneToysStore.com shipped pretty much instantly. Why do we fall? That suggests to me that he should be hitting stores pretty soon, so if you missed out, don't go racing to the aftermarket. Keep your eyes on your favorite store, and always mind your surroundings. For price, I'm giving Batman Begins 5 points, averaging out to a better than good total, a 4.2 out of 5. Now I know that some of you were probably hoping this was going to be a versus against the NECA version, and I promise that that versus is coming, but there's one more figure I'm waiting for in the meantime. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. For more Christian Bale Batman, check out one of these, and until next time, play nice and have fun.